for some reason it did not work.
Okay, start over.
Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78, and I'm so sorry for that technical difficulty there. I hope that we are live now, and we are going to be speaking tonight with my good friend, author, researcher, historian, Chris Fogarty. First of all, I just want to say hello to everyone out in the audience. We've got lots of people here tonight. Nevada, Mid-Michigan, Indiana, North Carolina. Who else is here? Union Square, Minnesota, Hilton Head, Texas. Welcome back, guys. Sorry about that. Michigan, always Michigan. All right, guys. Wisconsin, California, Florida, Tallahassee, Washington, Texas, Alabama, Mississippi, Utah, Zimbabwe, Quebec, Belgium, North Carolina, Texas, Dallas, Idaho, Maryland, Perth, Australia, Maine, Brisbane, Australia, Indiana, Illinois, Northern Ireland, Cocoa, Florida, Rifle, Colorado, Middle Tennessee, Texas, Scotland, North Dakota, California, Guam, South Carolina, Oregon, Virginia, Georgia, Rochester, New York, Columbus, Ohio, rather. Sorry about that. We've got another guest or another viewer from Northern Ireland. That's awesome. We are going to be listening to a very brief word from my sponsor, Noble Gold. I want to thank them so much for being willing to sponsor this program and help me bring it to you without having to worry about my broadcast getting shut down. Did you guys know that when the stock market collapsed in 2008, gold rose over 20% year over year for the next 3 years? We've had an incredible bull run on the market for about 10 years now, but how long can that last? JP Morgan's co-chairman believes we may have a near 40% drop in the stock market by next year. And many investors aren't aware that they can put their money into something different besides the stock market when it comes to their IRA or 401k. No one can predict when the next financial meltdown will hit, but wouldn't it be smart to look at your options? Did you know that you can put physical gold and silver into your IRA? And yes, you'll get a tax break on it. Noble Gold has been helping regular people just like us to roll their IRA or old 401k into physical gold for years, and they have an easy 3-step process to get it done quickly and safely. It isn't complicated, it takes less than 10 minutes to do, and then you can stop worrying. So if you have questions or you want to learn more about how you can protect your IRA with physical gold, give them a call at 877-646-5347 and tell them Red Pill 78 sent you. Rolling over your IRA only takes 5 minutes, and they have a team that will help you complete the paperwork. You can get the free gold and silver investment guide and learn how you can avoid the risks of the stock market with physical gold. Call 877-646-5347 or just hit the link below and get the information for free, and you can always go to noblegoldinvestments.com. Thank you so much to Noble Gold for being willing to sponsor this program. I really do appreciate it. That information is free, guys. And remember, if you support my sponsors, you're supporting this channel. Thank you so much, Chris Fogarty, for joining us tonight. You guys, Chris is an author, a historian, a researcher, and he's written a very, very important book. It's called Ireland, 1845 to 1850, The Perfect Holocaust and Who Kept It Perfect. Chris, thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you so much for allowing me this time.
Of course, sir. So this book is essentially the true historical account of what many people know as the Irish Potato Famine. And when I was growing up and I heard this story in school, I thought, how ridiculous. How is it possible that an entire nation of people subsisted only on a single food source, and then that food source goes away and everybody tragically dies? But of course, after reading your book and after meeting you, that's not the real story. What was it that actually happened?
First of all, I must say that at the so-called Irish Famine Museum in the big house of the ex-English landlord Pakenham Mahan. By the way, Pakenham was the general of the army that attacked New Orleans for the British government in 1815 and died there. But that big house, that landlord's house, is now turned into a so-called famine museum. And in the lobby of that, to paying people going there to learn about the so-called famine, there's a mural on the wall of people in fields wearing conical hats, like you might call coolies, Chinese coolies, as they used to call them, in a field, and saying that Ireland was one of the few countries on earth that once committed national suicide by growing one and relying upon one failure-prone crop. That is stunning. I had already known the truth when I went there, and many people go to that museum seeking to find the name of the British regiment that starved their ancestors. And when they go there, they are directed instead to admire the palatial house and furnishings of the English landlord who had extracted that wealth out of the efforts of his Irish tenants. All of Ireland were then tenants on land belonging to English landlords. But to back off and say the perpetration of that genocide, and it was called Holocaust at the time, starting in 1846, it was perpetrated by more than half the British Army. 67 of Britain's army of 130 regiments were in Ireland in those years. Their sole mission was the removal of Ireland's food crops to the ports for export, thus starving some 5.2 million people to death. I would never have learned that, even though I was brought up by Irish parents. Born in Chicago, we moved to Ireland in 1946, and famine was always on the tip of my tongue. That's what everyone is taught by church and school in Ireland, and sadly to say, in the United States. And so that's what I was raised with. But when Cecil Woodham Smith in 1962 wrote her The Great Hunger, she named 13 of the food removal regiments. But then she buried that knowledge under so much other contradictory information that upon completion of her book, that work, I still considered it famine, believed famine. It was only while doing my grandfather's biography in the mid-1980s, where his British Army records were kept. He was an Irishman born in Durham, County Laois, who joined the British Army when he was 18 in 1857. He had survived the Holocaust, as did his parents and siblings, though his elder sister collapsed and died on her way later to the local post office, seeking his army pay on which she and others were surviving, which is why he had joined the army in the first place. He served in India and New Zealand and other places. He fought the Maoris for their land. It's really disgusting. But my grandfather, like so many people living in colonies, became gunmen for the colonizers, for the empire. Very sad to say.
Yes.
So I went there. I learned there that it was not at all what I had been led to believe, and it forced me to excise the word famine from my vocabulary. Famine was so on the tip of my tongue that it took me, maybe it was because I was older also, but it took me months to get that off of my lips, because I was raised with it. I was way too familiar with it. But eventually I did learn famine is false witness to the millions murdered in those years. We should never, no honest people should ever use the word famine regarding Ireland.
No, it's incredibly offensive, considering, just how many people died, and it really portrays the people as some kind of, mental defectives. If they're only going to be having one source of food and they couldn't do anything else, I'm sure that they had other sources of food. They had grain, they had sheep. I'm sure that there were things that they could hunt. But what was it about? Was it as simple as the UK wanted to take the land from the Irish, or did they actually need that food enough that they were willing to kill these people?
Well, the British potato crop failed, but that would not have resulted in the death of people.
No.
They wanted it for whatever profit could be gained from it. And so they didn't use it to get the land of Ireland, because they already had the land of Ireland. All of Ireland was owned at the time by English landlords, essentially all of it by English landlords. Because of international outrage that lasted for decades, very permanently after the Holocaust in Ireland, 1845, 1850, that the British government decided they would have to remove their landlords from Ireland. They did that, almost all of it, between 1900 and 1910. The British government bought them out at above market prices, and they did so compulsorily. The landlords did not have an option, but they hardly needed an option because the payment they were given was such a tremendous golden handshake that they couldn't refuse it. In fact, the payment was so far over the market for those huge estates that the repayment period that was imposed upon the Irish recipients of the land, that those 20 and 30,000 acre estates were split up into little 28-acre survival farms on which people grew essentially all of their own products and lived on that land, except for shoes and a few items. My parents later bought one of them, 28 acres with a few acres of bog in the nearest bog for fuel, in our case, some 5 miles away. So that provided the fuel, and we provided everything we needed off that land. But the repayment period was so long that we paid, in addition to taxes, which were then called rates, the taxes for roads and schools and everything, on a twice a year basis. We also paid rent. That rent was the amount necessary to pay off the so-called debt that had been incurred by the payment to the English landlords. We were paying all that every year during my time in Ireland, and my father continued to pay it through the 1970s. Wow. It was only upon the end of those payments that the destitution of Ireland finally, after centuries, came to an end.
So what was so this began in 1845, but when the British arrived many years earlier, I would imagine. I mean, probably centuries earlier. But
yes.
But the effort to remove the Irish from Ireland began in earnest in 1845. So you said that it was initially up an actual potato famine in England, but how did they go about this? I mean, and it just seems just beyond belief that they would come in and just remove every source of sustenance from these people. I mean, it's in the book, it says 1845 to 1850, but was it a gradual process, or did they just come in and really ham-handedly remove everything?
Well, they took it at gunpoint. They had been doing it, you see, on a permanent basis. They didn't start in 1845.
Okay.
But the way the landlords had arranged, they got on an average 260 work days per year on their estates, the part of the land that they claimed for themselves, from the local Irish. And the payment for those 260 days was a few acres, 2 to 5 or 6 acres of land on which the Irish were required to live. So they grew products on thousands of acres, and they grew it in huge amounts. Every single calorie of energy was produced by Irish hands and Irish energy, but the local English landlord, being the owner of that estate, claimed all wealth that was produced on it by everyone, leaving starvation wages for the actual producers. So it was, and those landlords, many of them were lords spiritual and temporal, as members of the House of Lords, and others members of the House of Commons, many of them. They created the laws that brought in the British Army to remove the food, rob their local producers of the food to their benefit. And that's how that worked. Those landlords were largely empire builders. The nearest one to us, well, the second nearest one to us, Lord Pakenham, was killed at the Battle of New Orleans in 1815. Down the Mississippi to the Gulf of Mexico. So the leader of that attack, General Pakenham, from the Pakenham-Mahon estate in Strokestown, County Roscommon, his house, or that house, the Pakenham-Mahon estate house, the big house, you might call it a castle, is now a fraudulent famine museum, where people who go there seeking the identity of the British regiment that stripped their neighborhood, their ancestors' districts of foods, are distracted, are persuaded to admire the Lord's gracious living and the quality of his furniture. It's really sad what the official Irish government is doing.
That is, it's extremely sad. Now, considering how many people were affected by this, how has it been possible that the truth of this genocide, this Holocaust, has been able to be kept silent all of these years?
I think much of it is, I can only guess at this, I can only speculate.
Sure.
But we all tend to know what we were taught in school.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the lie was begun. Maybe one way to say it is that on November 3rd, 1845, a delegation of Irishmen, and they had very little power in their own country at the time, up until not long before that, they not alone could not serve in government, they also could not vote. The government of Ireland was run by English expatriates living in Ireland. No Irishmen served in the Irish government. It was, again, completely in the control, exclusive control of the invaders. And that's how it was run for some centuries. And so I've lost the train of my thought here now.
keeping the Holocaust silent. And
yes.
And
so how they managed that was that we all learned. So the professors who write are regurgitating the writings of previous professors. In my case, because I had read much on the subject and had concluded there was something kind of strange about famine, but had no proof, I only stumbled across it while doing my grandfather's biography. I had never known him. He died in 1924. I wasn't born until 1935. I wanted to know more about my father's father. And I went to the Public Record Office in Kew outside London. It's now called the National Archives. It is the holding place for Ireland's for England, Britain's history. So while there, I found that the regiment, the 40th of Foot, the Duke of Somerset's own, that he joined when he was 18, had removed the food from South County Galway to the port of Galway when he was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years of age. I was stunned because this said something other than famine, and this said genocide. So I researched further, and I found that more than half the British Army perpetrated that genocide. I came back to the States, and I put out a pamphlet, and it went into massive circulation immediately. And then when the internet became possible, I put it onto irishholocaust.org. And it had some beneficial effect. But I noticed that while the famines, quote, famine, unquote, fabricators were still publishing their books, they had abandoned, maybe 90% of their falsehoods. They used to deny that even a spoonful of food left Ireland during that Holocaust. They never called it a Holocaust, during the famine.
yes.
They denied that. I think faced with the information that I provided, they had to abandon that, but they couldn't abandon the core situation. And the core situation is the use of the British Army, the use of firepower to remove the food. That bespeaks genocide, not famine. And that's what the famine historiographers continue to deny. And their key historiographer, Christine Keneally, now teaching in the States, is the most prolific of the, quote, famine, unquote, writers. And she falsifies the actual data in order to keep the truth from coming out. And I have proof of her falsifications. No. And I'm wondering how long will academia everywhere, not alone in Ireland, but in the States, for how much longer will academia allow themselves to be personified by a fabricator, by a twister of the truth, the falsification of the official record? Here in Chicago, the two Catholic universities are the strongest adherents to the famine lie. They're the ones who much stronger than the University of Chicago and City Colleges of Chicago are the ones who are promoting potato famine. It stuns me that the people of Ireland, nearly 100% Catholic, would allow their church to so consistently use lies in their education of their children. But that's what we're faced with. So my wife and I have carried signs outside DePaul University just last week. DePaul falsifies history, and we carry our map with us, a large enlarged map, which shows which British regiment stripped which Irish district of their food crops. DePaul University cannot deny it, but it just tries to ignore us. And so the silent treatment is what is being applied. They daren't debate me. They dare not confront me with their own concept, because I have the records. I use only official records. The difference between my work and that of the famine historiographers is that I went to primary documentation, and while they're using the historical works of their forerunners, of their historical forerunners, that is the truth. In fact, it's a lesson in the writing of history that we must go to the basic documents and not rely upon previous writers.
So have there been times in the past then where people spoke about this honestly, or have there always, or were you the first historian who really discovered this in the modern age and started putting out the truth?
Well, while at the time everyone knew the truth, and for decades after the Holocaust, people referred to it as Holocaust and denounced it. But as the children of the survivors of the Holocaust passed away, my father in the year 2000, one of the last of them, as they passed away, actually the big lie increased upon their departures. So I'm the first one in the last nearly 100 years to be providing the truth on this subject. It's very, very sad. I do not want to be the only person. I'm expecting that honest people in academia will soon stand up and start to insist upon the truth in their own writings and also in the writings of their peers.
Now, you had mentioned that no one is able to debate you on this. Have you attempted to debate anyone in academia, or have you held any events where you've talked about this in public?
Well, a man here in Chicago, Sherman Skolnick, some years ago, invited me to speak on his show, a cable TV show in Chicago, the entire city of Chicago. And I did not know it, but he had 4 professors there. Also, when I walked in on the set, there they were. I was surprised. They did not know. It's my understanding that I surprised them also. It was mischievous on the part of Sherman Skolnick, but we started talking anyways, and ultimately they resorted to ad hominem smears. They couldn't cope with the information, and the camera focused most of the time on my map, which showed which regiment was in what part of Ireland, and the same map shows the locations of a few hundred of the mass graves they left behind. They ended up, they said that history is whatever the professionals, say it is.
As disgusting as it is, that's essentially the case. I mean, this is something they've been doing for generations, not just in Ireland, but across the globe. The history books are written by the victors, and unfortunately, too often that ends up being the bad guys. So looking at this map here, and let's talk about the evidence. So you had said that you had discovered a lot of stuff in the National Archives, as it were. Tell me exactly what was it that you found that was able to allow you to put all of these pieces together, because we've got mass graves, we've got the locations of these regiments.
Yes. Well, I have true copies made by the National Archives of the handwritten troop deployment, they call it disposition of the army, the troop deployment figures. And as they changed on every day and date for every single regiment and of their entire armed forces, of their army, and I got them photocopied, and then I ran a second copy off that I can use and get crinkles and everything. But my book merely extracts the dates that a given regiment entered an Irish district, and the date that it was moved from that Irish district to another Irish district. So the entire 5-year period takes up perhaps a quarter of my book, and it shows every single troop movement of a regimental size in Ireland. It's a wonderful piece of work. It is a self-damning for the British, those records, as much of the Nazi materials were against Germany after World War II. It's well done records, but well done records that happen to expose a genocide.
How ironic that they would be done in by their own fastidiousness. So do the records also show exactly what types of food and supplies were taken away from these various villages and areas of Ireland?
Yes, it doesn't show which particular tonnage of grain left a certain district, but it shows which was moved out of the nearest port from that district, and it shows where all of the grain mills and kilns were in Ireland at the time. And I've since gone over the Ordnance Survey maps of Ireland, which shows, one second now, that at that time there were 1,009. See, this is now on an island where it said nothing was growing but potatoes. But in those years, when it was supposedly a sole crop country, there were 1,979 grain mills, 1,975 grain kilns, 929 livestock pounds, 251 tuck mills, 420 flour mills, 130 breweries, 72 distilleries, 68 malt kilns, 58 threshers for threshing grain, 44 woolen mills showing the presence of sheep and lamb, 50 windmills, butter churning mills, sheepfolds, pig markets, corn markets, bacon stores, etc. And then it shows where they were shipped from, which Irish ports they were shipped from, and then the shipping records, which takes up is exhibit, I think it's C in my book, shows a tonnage of Irish food and the kind of food and the amount of each and the number of heads of livestock, the numbers and weights of the barrels of meat that landed elsewhere out of Ireland. The book is comprehensive.
Yes.
There's simply no arguing against it, because I didn't get my records from anything that said, look here for an account of the Irish famine. You have to find the truth obliquely. If the subject is criminal, you cannot look for that record under crime. You must look for it under other nomenclature, under other topics, which is what I did. I was merely innocently looking for my grandfather's life, to learn more about his life when I found out what his regiment had done when he was a child.
Now, do you think that your father was aware of what happened? Do you think your grandfather shared that information with your father, or was your father gone as well by the time that you started putting this book together?
My father was around, and he was aware, and he had much of the information, but he too, his understanding was contaminated by what he had learned in school also.
Right.
In Ireland. So it was a mixture there. And what's more, he even questioned my purpose in doing this on the basis that this might encourage the IRA in the 6 counties. In other words, he bought into the entire propaganda that the rest of the lies that the news media of Ireland are putting out, that the violence in Ireland between England and Ireland is supposedly, according to the lie, is caused by the Irish.
Wow. Yeah. No. It clearly it seems to me that it's a response to the occupation.
Well, it's not only, yeah, it certainly is partly that, but it is more a response to overwhelming violence.
Mm-hmm.
Of these main atrocities, the Dublin Monaghan bombing, that's the biggest one of all. There have been no prosecutions. That was done by the British, murdering 33 people and maiming 300. They have been left completely untouched. They're named, people know who they are, but the Irish government refuses to prosecute them. The Bloody Sunday murder of 14 by the British Army, open air in front of the world's news media. No soldier has ever yet been prosecuted. The McGurk's pub, some 14 people murdered in a bomb and machine gunning effort against the people. The UVF perpetrators of that were never brought to justice. They're all known. They were never brought to justice. It goes in Laughlin Island. In Laughlin Island, the people watching Ireland play Italy in the international soccer game some 20 years ago were machine gunned by a neighbor. He's named in a film. And recently, the filmmakers, the perpetrator, the mass murderer, is not prosecuted, a Briton in Ireland, but the people who made the film were arrested and threatened with life in prison. But however, justice is coming even to the 6 counties under British rule because the charges were dropped against them. So now what's left is, well, what about the mass murder? And that's left hanging. But they made a film that lays it all out there, including the name of the murderer and how it happened, and that's a matter of record. So the notion of the murderability of the Irish by any Englishman in Ireland was true for centuries because the Irish had no legal personhood. They had been stripped of legal personhood in their own country under British rule. But they won that legal personhood back, except that the British murder of people in Ireland is continuing. That's the killing with impunity. The murder with impunity has continued and continues through this day. These murders, these mass murders, and there are many more. I could name them for you. The Miami Show Band massacre, where the British were putting a bomb aboard a musician, the van of musicians some 30, 40 years ago, who were driving out of a gig in the north down to the Republic, timed to go off so that they would be thought to have been carrying bombs in order to spread the notion that the trouble was coming from the Republic. But the bomb went off in the hands of the people putting it into the vehicle. It killed 4 or 5 of them, including a few of the musicians, one of whom survived and was blown across the fence into the nearby field. And so he eventually became a witness, but nothing was ever done to the perpetrators. So the genocide of Ireland at the Holocaust is a terrible thing. Some 5.2 million were murdered, but the killings continue with impunity. And I don't want to dwell too much on the current ones,
Of course,
because they can solve themselves. What cannot be done for the millions murdered, what must be done is that the slandering of the dead must end. They did not fall into a lethal trap of their own making. They were murdered by people with guns, and that's undeniable. And I welcome anyone who would call in and debate or attempt to debate. I would particularly welcome any English or Irish history professor. I really want them to refute me if they can. Make their best attempt.
Now, since I had originally heard you on another podcast several years ago, I haven't heard any other interviews with you, Chris. Have you been been able to present this information in a public forum like this since that time, or have you tried to make any headway with reaching out to the media or other people who might have some pull?
Just a few days ago, I presented 2 examples of history falsification by the preeminent famine unquote writer. And I sent that out to the Irish Echo newspaper, the biggest Irish American newspaper, the Irish American News, another paper for which I had written for 20 years. and New York Times, the Irish Times in Ireland, and got essentially zero response. But this was run as a test to see how corrupt the news media actually are. And except for a very few courageous people like you, this is a cover-up. This is a successful cover-up. And you are breaking that cover-up, you and a handful more, because that's all who have interviewed me. This lie it is imperative that this lie be kept going, evidently, by the neocons, because they are now planning other things in other countries.
Yes, yes. So, what's the benefit here for them? Do you think that if the British were to admit that this was an actual Holocaust, that there would be some type of reparations that they would need to make to the Irish people? I mean, it seems that they have been subjugating them for centuries.
While that is true, I don't know of anyone seeking reparations, and I'm not, and I don't even know whether it's called for here. Some things cannot be undone.
No.
They're so abominable that we must just somehow acknowledge them and then keep going. But we must acknowledge them. That is the key. We must acknowledge. And that acknowledgement is being denied by the establishment. The most adamant opponents we have are the Irish government and the Catholic Church in Ireland, Catholic Church everywhere. It's hard for me to believe, because I was taught ethics and basic right and wrong from my parents, but the church also. I was raised in the Catholic Church, and to know that Catholic bishops are grotesque falsifiers still stuns me. I can still hardly believe it, but I have plenty of evidence, and I'm willing to share that. We must acknowledge the truth. And I have received plenty of information, came directly to me, about the falsification of history by Irish bishops, Irish Catholic bishops. It stuns me to even mention it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. You know, when you grow up your entire life and you look up to someone like that, who is not only maybe, just a mentor in general, but a spiritual leader, you would think that they should behave in a certain manner. Real quick, I just need to say thank you to Kelly Dunn. She says, my family is from Lisburn, Ireland. And Herkimer Fuddwaddle says, everyone can relax. The Quite Franklies are here. Thank you for those super chats, guys. Now, Chris, what role in the cover-up did the bishops have?
Well, when on the day of the inauguration and consecration of the first mass of a memorial my wife and I put up to the murdered village of Lisnabinia, which is now in Ballyglass, Ballymo, County Galway, the local parish priest was there and did a very nice job. Other people came from nearby. One group came from just a couple of miles away in Kilbegnet. They asked me if we would be the front for them to help them put up a memorial for they call them the famine victims, who were denied Christian burials and therefore were buried outside the wall of consecrated ground of Kilbegnet Cemetery nearby. And I had agreed with that, and we were in communication to get it done as to the wording on the memorial when the Roscommon Champion, the Connacht Champion newspaper, had a full-page article that featured the local bishop of that diocese of Elphin, my home diocese, in which I'll put it this way, he performed the two miracles necessary for a canonization. And so we presume it was for his own canonization. But so his two miracles were the people of all Catholics, baptized Catholics of all ages, who were buried outside the wall of consecrated ground, without disinterring those bodies, all of a sudden they were within consecrated ground. And now how that miracle was performed is that the bishop got the local county council to take down part of the cemetery wall and make it a larger circle to include a token amount of that mass grave, of the external mass grave, consecrated it, and therefore they were within. And then his second miracle was converting those bodies, those remains of all ages, into the remains of unbaptized children. I don't know how he managed to do that, but that's what he did, because he used the word unbaptized babies 44 times in his speech, in his sermon that day at that cemetery.
So labeling them as unbaptized children rather than admitting that they were victims of the Holocaust here in Ireland.
And had been denied Christian burial. That's the key point.
Yeah, no, two huge things. So when we're talking about these mass graves, how many people per grave, or how many people, was what kind of numbers are we talking about? You said 5.2 million total. So how many graves are there exactly?
We have, on my map, there are some 170, 180. That's probably 10% of the total in Ireland. That can be properly called mass graves.
Wow.
Of the memorials that my wife and I have put up, it turns out that, and we have been requested to put them up by local people who have always wanted them, but have been stopped by their, quote, betters, unquote. They need help from outside to get it done, because they are afraid of their local government. I wish this were not necessary to say this, but the Irish people are very afraid of their government. They know there are certain things are taboo, and the Irish Holocaust is taboo in Ireland. Recognition of those mass graves, the people are still whispering about them, because if you speak openly about them, you might be the government might consider that you are an Irish patriot. And today there are more Irish patriots in the main prison in Ireland, Portlaoise prison in County Laois, than there are under British rule in Maghaberry prison in the north. That's a shocking fact, that the Irish government is harder upon their own patriots than the ex-imperial power that used to be the main opponent.
So just for speaking out that you believe that Ireland should be its own country, you're going to be put in prison in Ireland?
Yes.
Wow.
They'll find, yes, and they don't even have to prove you have done anything wrong. An officer of the police, the Garda Síochána, can opine that you are a member of a proscribed organization and imprison you for that.
And by proscribed, I mean they're considering that like a terror organization?
Well, they're only calling it. You see, in Ireland, the terror is quite clear who the terrorists are, because the terrorists are the ones who do the murdering.
Right.
But the vast majority of the murders are British perpetrated. So that doesn't work so well in Ireland. The Irish government are adopting a neocon policy, and they will call whatever group they will use the label of terrorist on any group that the neocons wanted to be applied to.
And so neocons in the Irish government.
They're really not in the Irish government. The neocons are mostly Americans, but also British.
Okay. So that was what I was wondering, is are we considering them the neocons from America? So, wow.
Yeah.
That's
and they're doing it in Ireland, I think, by a combination of blackmail and bribery. For example, the Irish government, that knows much better, and they know international law, they're allowing Shannon Airport to be used as a military base by the U.S. government in the prosecution of its supreme crimes in Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, and all the rest. Now Iran, and they were used for extradition. What did they call it again? Enhanced interrogation flights at the time. They had another word for it at
renditions.
the time. Thank you very much. Rendition flights. They were allowed to land at Shannon also, as well as nearly all the flights going to and from land at Shannon Airport.
Wow. Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense then. And there's a major deep state component there in Ireland.
Yes.
So it would really behoove them to keep all of this stuff silent.
Yes.
So wow, it just blows my mind that something of this magnitude could be kept quiet for this long. Now, when you've got multiple the monuments all over the country. How many monuments did you say you and your wife have put up on your own?
I'm ashamed to say that it's only 6.
Well, I would imagine it's probably pretty expensive to put up something like that.
Yes, but I must say, as expensive as it is, and we haven't even bought our own graves or headstones yet, and we don't have an awful lot of time left. But every time we get one up, we feel we have done something really worth doing. And I would suggest that other people consider joining our efforts. And I know it's happening. Other people are talking to their relatives in Ireland, arranging for memorials over their local mass graves. There's a wonderful priest down in Venice, Florida, who, upon reading my book, decided he would put a memorial over the so-called famine grave nearest to his mother's birthplace out on Belmullet Peninsula off of Mayo. And he was blocked by the parish priest of Belmullet, County Mayo.
Really?
Yes. So one priest wanted to put up the memorial, but he was blocked by a priest who opposed to it. And currently, I've been at that mass grave. There are no marks there except loose stones the size of a skull, just laid around the very center of the cemetery, that probably were placed there by people in a poor attempt to mark where their relatives were buried. But the parish priest will allow, and the way they managed to get that stopped is that the local monument makers are beholden to the Catholic priests in the area.
Yeah.
And if they were to do something the Catholic priest didn't approve of, well, maybe another monument maker would be selected to do the rest of the community monumenting.
And everybody has to feed their family. That's horrible.
That's it.
Man. So this is a never-ending job, basically. The sales from the books, this is how you are directly funding these monuments?
Actually, we're never going to break even on the book, because the time my wife and I spent in London on 3 trips there and trips to Ireland for the mass graves, we'll never recover that, but we never intended to recover. And so that's just fine. I am so heartbroken by the fact that the, quote, famine writers all lie about history for financial gain. And I'm so put off by that I will make sure that my wife and I never gain financially from what we're doing. We were putting up memorials in Ireland long before we knew a book had to be written. I thought that my pamphlets alone would silence the history falsifiers. The pamphlets they helped, but they didn't complete the job. Then my irishholocaust.org website did some more good, but it didn't complete the job. And I thought then my book would complete the job, and it has not done so either. In fact, the Irish government have responded by sending academics on tours across the United States and Australia and Canada to keep the famine lie alive.
So they have done an active PR campaign to overcome the actual truth in your book. That's just disgusting.
Yes, that is a fact. And many of those who are promoting famine, they're either continuing to do so, or they have changed. They're saying, "Oh, we're truth tellers. Let's not continue this old. Let's start telling the truth." It was Gortamore. Gortamore is Irish for famine, so they're using another exculpatory phrase that continues the cover up.
Just changing the narrative, but keeping it the same.
Yes. That's it. And they're saying, well, here we are. We're telling the truth finally. So folks, start paying attention to us, because here you'll get the truth. And then in their works, they say that they condemn Britain very, very heartily. It's seemingly very emotionally, very truthfully. They seem to be doing. And they condemn Britain for not doing enough.
Now, Chris,
go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
And if Britain, and seeing that Britain had more than half its army in Ireland perpetrating that genocide, if they didn't do enough, you have to ask, should they have had 77 regiments removing the food?
It's just mind-boggling. And someone in the audience had asked, why did you use the word Holocaust in the title of the book? And that was, if I'm not mistaken, that's because that was what was used to describe what happened here. Isn't that the case?
Yes, it started by now it's the Irish Examiner newspaper. At the time it was in Cork City, it was the Cork Examiner. They were the first ones in 1846 to start to call it Holocaust. But then so did Michael Davitt and John Mitchell and James Fitzgerald and many other writers at that time. It is only in more recent decades, the last 70 or 80 years, that people abandoned that in favor of the lie. Maybe it's time now to mention this. On November 3rd, 1845, that delegation of Irishmen went to the British Viceroy's office, Lord Heytesbury's office, in the Viceregal Lodge in Phoenix Park, Dublin. They went there to tell him that the people were starting to die of hunger and to please stop the food removal and to also stop brewing and distilling to leave more grain for human consumption. Lord Heytesbury ignored their request, and they were very, very urgent requests, and he read to them from a paper about potatoes and Phytophthora infestans, potato blight. So on that date, November 3rd, 1845, was the official beginning of two events. It was the official beginning of the Irish Holocaust, and it was also the official beginning of the Potato Famine lie. It is only in the last half a century that the famine lie has progressed so well. And I'm trying to turn that around. And the truth will do that eventually. I don't know who will manage to get it done. My wife and I are doing what we can. But the fact is that it took more than half the British Army to perpetrate it. And that's the fact. So November 3rd of every year, for the last 15, 20 years, in at least the Anglophone world, United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, England, Ireland, but also Mexico and Spain and a few other countries, there are commemorations of the Irish Holocaust. It is done frequently, most oftenly by masses in churches and cathedrals. There'll be one at Holy Name Cathedral here in Chicago on November 3rd. And it is Irish Holocaust Commemoration Day, November 3rd every year. Meanwhile, for the last 3 years, in response, the so-called Irish government have arranged a famine commemoration day. On 2 of the years, it was in May, and 1 year it was in April. It seems to change. It's pretty fluid yet.
Wow.
And their date has no meaning. There's no historical purpose for it.
It's all just part of the cover-up.
Yes.
Horrible, horrible. Well, Chris, I want to thank you so much for being here with us tonight and telling my audience about this. This is so incredibly important. I have Irish blood, guys. I'm about 50% Irish, and I just want to remind everyone that the reason that I was able to reach Chris is because several years ago, 5 years ago, I heard Chris on a podcast being interviewed by another host. And I reached out to him to purchase his book, and we started talking at that time. He was extremely gracious, as you can tell from the conversation. He's a wonderful guy, and the work that you're doing, Chris, is just it's incomparable. Okay, the amount of effort and the time and the money that you're putting into this, it really shows that you care. Because I think one of the reasons that people do not bother to learn about this stuff is they're willing to just accept the truth as given to them by their overlords. And even when confronted with this stuff, as an example, the academics that you bring this evidence to, your work is very detailed. You've got everything listed here in the book. You lay it out perfectly. There's no invective here. There's no conjecture. You lay out the case for exactly what happened. And if someone finds this information and does not believe it, then they are willfully ignorant. And I'm so surprised that in today's day and age, with the advent of the internet, that more people are not aware of what's going on. So I urge my listeners to go. You can use that link I provided from Amazon. Go purchase this book. Talk to your friends and neighbors about it, because this is a legitimate genocide that took place in Ireland, and the British covered it up.
And the Irish government.
And the Irish government, yeah. Well, I always think of the Irish government as the British. I mean, they're de facto, basically.
Thank you. You know something that an awful lot of people don't know.
Yeah. It's horrible, All right. Well, Chris, thank you once again for joining us. Anything that you'd like to leave the audience with here tonight?
Whatever concern we have for the millions murdered in Ireland, one way to honor them is to do what we can to stop our governments from committing more genocides. And thank you all very, very much.
All right. Thank you, Chris. And I'm sure I'll talk to you soon, sir, and I wish you luck.
Thank you, and thank you.
You're very welcome. We'll talk to you soon. All right, guys. What a conversation. Chris Fogarty, thank you for being with us here tonight. Once again, the name of the book is Ireland, 1845 to 1850, The Perfect Holocaust, and Who Kept It Perfect. Please, once you guys get this book, once you've had the opportunity to review it, do let me know what you think. This is very, very important stuff here. And I think it goes hand in hand with the fight that we are fighting today, because this is only something that can happen when people are willing to remain silent after learning the truth. And that's why we're here, is because we are not willing to remain silent. We know the truth, and we must keep fighting. All right, guys, next I am going to be bringing in my next set of guests. We're going to be talking to Erin Moffett. Actually, hold on just a second. I need to delete that conversation. And we are going to be adding right here. Okay, so we've got our friend Sever Anon. Jason was a Gentile, and then also Erin Moffett. Let me get Erin added to this conversation. How is everybody doing tonight? I hope that you enjoyed that conversation with Chris, because I know I sure did. All right, let's see. We're going to be giving you guys a call right now. Continue to call. Yep. Okay. All right. Are you guys ready for the world premiere of a video, a music video from our friends Sever, Jason Was a Gentile, and Erin Moffett? We've got 2 people, 2 out of the 4 in here. Jason Was a Gentile. What's up, my brother?
Jason was a Gentile.
Gotta love it. All right, let me get you pulled over here onto the main stage. And Sever, you're there, my friend. Hello.
Sever, you're there, my friend. Hello.
Turn off the volume on the stream.
Got you right now, brother.
All right, we're still waiting for Erin to join. Let's see. She's calling. That won't work, Erin. I have to call you because it's a group call. Let me call Erin. There we go. Add. All right, we are calling Erin right now. And let's get you. Erin, are you there?
I'm here.
All right, make sure you got the volume down on your stream.
Got it down now.
All right, how is everybody doing tonight?
Life is good.
Somebody still has the volume up.
Not me, but life is good too.
All right, good. Sever, how about you, brother?
Yeah, no, everything's going well. How about you, bro?
I am doing awesome. So we are going to be listening to the world premiere of a new Sever and Jason Was a Gentile track tonight. Why don't you guys tell us about what we're going to be hearing?
Fire it off, Sever.
Yeah, no, this was the next one that was up after Promises Made, Promises Kept. He sent me the beat again, same kind of process. Had the hook on it and everything ready to go, and I just wrote for it pretty much immediately as soon as he sent it. And yeah, that was it. It's a track about well, I'll let it speak for itself. Actually, I don't want to say too much. I'd rather that people get the visuals, because Erin did a great job with the video, as everybody's about to see. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. I hope that I hope you guys dig it for sure.
I am super excited about it. Everybody knows that I love Erin Moffett. She is a great researcher, and she makes incredible videos. Erin, was there anything that gave you inspiration while you were making this incredible video for this incredible song?
You guys, as you get to know me, you know I'm a very honest person. And so to be totally honest, I've watched some of his stuff, and I'm talking about Sever Anon because I used one of his songs in my very first deep dig. I asked him for permission. He gave me permission, and I used it for my very first one about who is Q. And so it's still on there. And I was thinking, I think it'd be fun to just do a video for him if he'd be willing, because I've gotten pretty decent in my production, and I thought it would help out because he's doing the part of the music, which is a lot of work. It would be nice to offer my help, and he agreed, and then he sent it on to Jason to approve, and here we are.
All right, guys. Excellent. Well, I'm super excited. Let's go ahead and get right into it. We're going to bring the video up. I'm going to move the call over to this screen. Let's go ahead and play the video. It's called Guantanamo.
Red Pill Music. Jason was a Gentile, heads of Erin Moffett. Red Pill Music. Red Pill Music. They say socialism, I say it's a no-go. They say abortion and I say it's a no-go. They want Hillary, I say Guantanamo. I ride the 45. They wanna turn a boy into a girl, I'm shouting it's a no-go. They way I'm tapping down, oh baby, that's a no-go. You say Obama, I say Guantanamo. I ride the 45.
They want to give us higher taxes, that's a no-go. Nah. They want to deceive the masses, that's a no-go. Nope. They want Biden, I say Guantanamo. They want to jump off a cliff like Geronimo. They want to take us to places I don't want to go. The truth is out there and that's all I want to know. Right. Where we go on, we gotta go. We got a lot of talent out here that we gotta show. Liberal agendas, MSM is pushing that. We take it back our country because we're pushing back. We see what they're doing, we say it's a no-go. Can you see what's going on? It's like, whoa, bro. We gotta school the normies in case they don't know. Make them see what we see without a GoPro. T5, the avalanche is coming down. We ride with 4-5, they're running out. Tick-tock, time on the clock is running out. There's now a waterfall, the proof is coming out. The waterfall, the truth is how it's gotta flow. Send every single trader down to Guantanamo.
They say socialism, I say it's a no-go. They say abortion and I say it's a no-go. They want Hillary, I say Guantanamo. I ride the 45. They wanna turn a boy into a girl, I'm shouting it's a no-go. They why you're tapping down, oh baby, that's a no-go. You say Obama, I say Guantanamo. I ride the 45.
Let's go, Jay. They wanted fantasy, I say it's a no-go. A lie about 45, that's a no-go. I'm going hard like I was training in the dojo. Cause they try to strip our POTUS of his mojo. They say socialism, we say it's a no-go. They expose their own evil with their logos. Remember, symbolism will be the downfall. TikTok, the deep state's going down, y'all. He's got the magic wand that Obama couldn't find. Taking charge to get our country back in line. Draining the swamp like we're going back in time. Before the deep state implemented their design. The only thing they want to do is control your mind. Get a hold of yours, they ain't controlling mine. Patriots united and we're standing tall and proud. When you say Trump, make sure you say it loud. Say it with pride, no matter who's around. We love America and that's the way it's going down. They push their agenda, I say that it's gotta go. Lock all the traitors down in Guantanamo.
They say socialism, I say it's a no-go. They say abortion and I say it's a no-go. They want Hillary, I say Guantanamo. I ride the 45. They wanna turn a boy into a girl, I'm shouting it's a no-go. They why you're tapping down, oh baby, that's a no-go. You say Obama, I say Guantanamo. I ride the 45. They say socialism, I say it's a no-go. They say abortion and I say it's a no-go. They want Hillary, I say Guantanamo. I ride the 45. They wanna turn a boy into a girl, I'm shouting it's a no-go. They why you're tapping down, oh baby, that's a no-go. You say Obama, I say Guantanamo. I ride the 45. Red Pill Music.
I had my microphone off because I didn't want to laugh over the track. Too much cool stuff in there. That was awesome, you guys. So cool. Let me get the correct desktop switched over here.
You crushed, Erin. You totally crushed.
Thank you, guys. It was fun. This is fun for me.
Yeah,
It was
Erin,
so legit.
great job. Incredible job. I just need to say thank you real quick to Georgia Peach and also Vote Trump 2020. She says, this is now my favorite song. Thank you, Red Pill 78, for the best reporting on YouTube and bringing on talent. Also, thank you to Radu Danshu and Michael Kenny. You know what? I am blessed to have amazing friends, you guys, to be able to have a cadre of wonderful people that I can bring together and that we can share our talents. I can't think of a better thing in the world. So how long were you guys working on that track?
That's a good question. How long did that take, Jay? Not long. A couple of weeks, maybe. If
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I think, yeah, about two. It was, it's just working. Now Aaron is in the mix, and I'm pumped. I don't know how this happened, but I'm stoked. And
Yeah,
so
no,
it just,
Erin did a great job.
Yeah.
it was like a 2.5 week turnover or something like
Oh,
that.
that's great. That is so cool. Erin, are you going to continue to produce videos for these guys? Are you guys now a triple threat, no longer a double threat?
I'd be willing if they want, because this doesn't take me that long. What I do, though, is need the lyrics in the future, because I was listening and having a really hard time with some of it, but I did end up getting them, and that helps because, and I just want to, I think the way these things align up is because it was on my heart to ask, and then I got a yes. And so I think these things are just those small obedient steps I've talked about, with God. These things matter, and it helps people. And they have better music now than that secular crap that's out there. And this is, now we can put a little bit of visual to it. Not that there wasn't visual, but I noticed that Jason wasn't making videos and Sever was, and I just wanted to help with that. It's fun for me. It doesn't take that long. I'm getting a lot better at it. So I'm happy to do this in the future.
Well, I certainly, for one, hope that we see a lot more videos. Like I said this last time, you guys, you just need to make videos now. So I am elated that all three of you have hooked up, Erin, because I think it's a natural fit.
I agree. Are you a video maker, Sever? Because I'm not.
I mean, I've been making quick ones just to have some kind of visual to go with the music, but it's awesome to have someone that's actually, got the skill set that Erin has, because that video, in my opinion, is it just works perfectly with the track. So it's a natural fit. It's perfect.
Glory to God.
True.
All day. Yeah, Erin, you are a phenomenal videographer. Everything that you did there, I wouldn't know that you had any trouble listening to the lyrics or being able to figure out what they were. You did get them eventually.
Sever sent them to me, but Jason was the first one I had trouble with. But we got it figured out together. We did it.
Awesome. And I saw people asking in the chat. So Jason was doing the chorus and Sever was doing the verses. In case I saw a couple people questioning that, exactly what was going on. So what's up next for you guys? Do you already have another track that you're working on?
Well, I guess if we're working out a template, it seems. So either Sever is going to hit me up with a beat, or I'm going to knock out a hook and send it to him again. I've got a couple beats in the pipeline that I've been eyeballing, but I haven't done it. But I'll just do it tomorrow morning or something. And then yeah, we got to do another one. We can't stop.
No, absolutely not. I'm with it 100%. Like, you already know, the second you send something to me and tell me that I have mail, it's go time. So yeah, I just plan on keeping the ball rolling and keep the catalog building, and yeah, let's get it. Let's red pill everybody. It's what it's all about.
Awesome. Now, of course, this was the world premiere here tonight, but people are already asking in the audience, where are they going to be able to go and watch this after the show?
I uploaded it. No offense, and no trying to take it away from it. I hope you guys upload it too if you got a YouTube, and I know that Sever does. And I put in my YouTube description box their links, guys. Go to their links. It's not about me, okay?
Yeah,
I'm going to be doing the same. I'll have the upload up on my channel, but it likewise directing the traffic. Also to Erin's video, it's going to be a mirror of it, and also to Jason's website and SoundCloud, where all the music is available. So I think that's the best way to do it. Try to get it to as many people as possible and as broad of a spectrum as we can, and just get it out there.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think just want to mention how it kind of, I guess this is some version of content creation, right? This content creation, and you have channels and stuff and different places where people can see stuff. And I think there's a temptation to want to control where people can see stuff, So, but I'm committed to, man, you guys post it wherever you want, Erin and Sever. Whatever you want, whenever you want, post it how you want, because it's really not, it's just about getting it out there, period. It's not about, who's got the link or what. Like, I really just do not care. I'm doing this because, because of the movement, and that's the only reason.
And that's super refreshing.
I couldn't agree more.
Super refreshing
I agree
to
too.
see you guys do that
and I'm
stuff.
sorry to cut you off, Zach. Red pill. I just wanted to say that I wanted everybody to know that it's not about me. but it's about these guys. And glory to God that it all came together because we are people that love God. We're people that want to bring the truth about God to everybody out there. And we want to bring all truth, but ultimately it comes down to Jesus and God. And these are people that care about that. It's not about ourselves. And that's what we're doing, is just making this music that we can all get into, that isn't talking about stuff that we shouldn't be hearing about, because it is hard with that music out there that has a good beat. We get excited about it, and then we can't listen to it because we know what they're saying is horrible. This is stuff that we should just share. And it's the only reason I posted it is because I made it and it was easy for me to post and let everybody download it, but happy to just give that up to everybody else.
That's awesome. Yeah, this is super important, you guys, because the culture war is in many ways the front lines of fighting the cabal. I mean, that's what they use. You know, that's how they get their information and their programming out to the masses. I need to say real quick thank you to Leah Worth, also to Dude, Where's My Bike? Trump 2020 donate to the We Build the Wall GoFundMe, and also Kimberly Bogan. So thankful for the movement and for RP78 bringing patriots together. We love America. We love our president. God bless. So I've seen lots of people asking if you guys are going to try to get any gigs at any upcoming Trump rallies.
That just makes my heart race. I don't know about you guys. So we have to have some chats about it.
The same when I hear that. A lot of people actually on Twitter, I'm sorry to cut you off. A lot of people have been asking on Twitter, like, if that's going to happen. So if there's a way that we would be able to plan something out, that would be phenomenal. I couldn't think of anything I'd rather do, to be honest. It just the vibe is right. It's summertime. It's that summer kind of music, and it's just all about supporting our POTUS. Guy's doing an amazing job. We need to fight for him the same way that he's fighting for us.
That's true.
What would have been bananas is setting up a little tent and just like a portable microphone, portable speaker, and some mics outside the Orlando rally.
You could totally do
that's
it.
all it takes, too,
That's
man.
a good idea.
If anybody knows Brad Parscale, get these guys in touch with them. But yeah, just going along to any of these rallies, and then you could totally set up shop, get yourself like, I don't know, a small like PA or something like that, and just play your stuff. Maybe get a Segway,
Get some t-shirts,
or a
get some
wheelbarrow.
I've got one of those little portable jams.
Yeah,
all we'd
that's
have to
what
do
it's all about, man.
I've already got one of those little portable jams from back in the day, so all we'd have to do is just show up and meet each other. But that would be fun. Just a question. So about music videos with Erin. So, I'd like to see this evolve into this complexity with the visual representation. When I was watching that video for the first time, my wife and I were watching it, and we were like, oh, we got a video. We were going nuts. And so I'm pumped to see how there's an artistic aspect of what Erin did as well. And I'm pumped to see what she does on the next go around,
No,
I'm all for it.
Yeah, Erin,
like
it adds a new dimension to the music, and I think it makes it just that much more shareable for people to put out there, because everybody, it's part of that like consumerism, the consumer culture that we have with, in picking up stuff online. When you've got music or just maybe like some words, it's going on in the background, but you've got a video and it engages people. And the images that you used in the video really bring the lyrics home for the listener.
Which is important in the importance of knowing the lyrics, because, and plus I'll go through a few pictures now. I'm just grabbing photos, and I do talk to LT a little bit and we know. So he has helped me, and so I do try to go to some places where I can get some more original photos and some kind of 3D stuff once in a while. But sometimes a picture just works. Like that picture with Obama and his eyes crossed and the magic wand. I was like, oh, I don't know who made this, but this is amazing. God bless them. Because if I could give credit, like I would. But they know but the thing about it is we all make stuff and we put it out there, like Instagram and stuff. I've done the same thing. And I've made that. People say, can I take that? I said, yes, if I put it out, you can have it. And that's how I feel when I pull stuff and use it. But of course, if I ever get any, I haven't gotten copyright strikes for anything but music. So this is why this is perfect, because now I can use these guys' music just like I've done in the past a little bit. And I can use stuff that I can find as far as pictures and videos, and most of that's not a copyright problem. And you're right, it does add that kind of depth. And I think that's what I was envisioning. I'd come across all these pictures and then one would work. And I just kind of stick with it on the chorus because the chorus repeats. Why not just have the visuals repeat?
No doubt. I need to give a couple of quick thank yous. Anbu Prank, want to hear Sever and Jason's music at a Trump rally? That's a definite. I think that's something you guys need to put on the list. And of course, my friend God's Guy is in the audience. God's Guy, I'm so glad you and Gina are here. I hope you guys got to your destination safely. Look, Kimberly just said that she got her T-shirts today. That's awesome. I've also gotten a couple of my own T-shirts in the last several days. I got my Red Pill 78 coffee mugs too. So this is a great time to plug the merchandise store. You guys can go to teespring.com/stores/Red Pill 78, and you can get a lot of wonderful merchandise, T-shirts, tank tops. There's a couple different styles of women's tank tops. You can get hoodies. You can get crew neck sweatshirts. You can get stickers. It is always going to be a link that is in the description of the video below. Now, what do you guys think about having merchandise for yourselves? I think that is something that definitely people in the audience would want to hear and see.
I think it's a great idea. I think Sever's logo especially. Sever, you got a cool logo. It would work good for a shirt.
Oh, thank you. That's actually shout out to Bree, who I believe is moderating as we speak. She does amazing work. So yeah, big shout out to Brianna. And a lot of people have been asking actually for the merchandise end of it, saying they want to buy T-shirts and stuff like that. So I think it's definitely something that we need to explore, try to put some stuff together and give the people what they want.
Sever, you beat me to the plug. That was where I was going with that. I wanted to say specifically that Bree had done an incredible job with all the merchandise on my website. So that would be a natural fit. I didn't know that she had already done that logo for you, but I know that she is starting to do merchandise stores for other people in this movement as well. If you guys are interested in putting together your own store, by all means, I'll be happy to put you in touch with her, and she can do some amazing work for you guys as well.
Yeah, absolutely. She's awesome. All the artwork that you see on my page on Twitter was actually all courtesy of her. She does really, really cool work. So I definitely wanted to give her a shout out as well.
Awesome. Lady Liberty, Erin Moffett, what about you? Are you going to be having merch as well? Because you are a prolific YouTuber and researcher yourself.
I have some great merch. It's called Gold and Silver, and I can help you guys buy that whenever you're ready. Email me, ladyliberty@countermail.com. I will answer your questions about gold and silver. Now's the time.
That's right. Now is the time. Gold and silver are worth so much more than the fiat paper currency that we currently use. And Erin's knowledge on this subject is unparalleled, if I might say.
Oh, thank you for that.
You're
Mike
very...
Maloney might know a little bit more than I do, but
yeah,
I'm learning from him.
Well, I haven't had Mike on the show yet, so.
That's true.
Maybe my knowledge is limited. All right, you guys. Well, do you guys want to stick around for the next 38 minutes and go through some of the news with me?
Happily.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so let me move that over here. All right.
Guys, this is so fun. Just by the way, this is so fun. I love doing this.
Always
You guys
good
are cool.
times on Red Pill Show.
All right, so let's see. What is the first story that I wanted to go over today? Sorry, I got to get this into the right spot. Okay, so some new news about General Flynn. Apparently, we all know that General Flynn had been under surveillance or at least targeted by the former presidential administration, but supposedly, specifically, he uncovered a massive scandal related to the Clintons, and it was linked to the funding of terrorist organizations. And as soon as he figured it out, he was immediately targeted by the deep state and the former president's administration. So here from the Gateway Pundit, on November 10th, 2017, we reported how the Wall Street Journal had received information from anonymous sources who said that General Flynn and his son Michael were involved in a plot to kidnap Muslim cleric and return him to Turkey. The Wall Street Journal said that Special Counsel Robert Mueller is investigating former White House National Security Advisor Mike Flynn's alleged role in a plan to forcibly remove a Muslim cleric living in the U.S. and deliver him to Turkey in return for millions of dollars. And this is according to people familiar with the administration. Now, of course, in the aftermath of the former president, it is now customary and expected for the FBI, the DOJ, and other government officials to leak true and false stories to the left-wing media, as long as they attack or discredit President Trump or anyone who voted for him. These corrupt and criminal leaks will never be investigated or addressed in court with the deep state in charge of the U.S. government, but that's changing right now. Now, regardless how the story may have been placed with the Wall Street Journal, it was to entice General Flynn to later plead guilty to lying to the FBI. And of course, what Flynn supposedly lied about has never been leaked through the mainstream liberal media, but based on a report from our friend Neon Revolt, there is much more to this story. In November 2017, the primary bone of contention between the U.S. and Turkey in Fethullah Gulen, a shady Islamic mullah residing in Pennsylvania, whom former President Bill Clinton once called his friend in a well-circulated video. Flynn then shared a video of President Clinton claiming that that shady mullah was a friend of the U.S. Let's take a listen to this video real quick.
Good evening. In this interdependent world, the fates of people on opposite sides of the globe are increasingly linked. And it's critical to keep the lines of communications open as much as we can. That's why the communication between the Turkish-American community and the people of Turkey is so important. It's important to ensure your vibrant cultural heritage, to make sure it continues to thrive and inspires and builds a bridge that reaches over all faiths and creeds and the ocean. By being here tonight, you are contributing to lasting peace and security at home and abroad. You're contributing to the promotion of the ideals of tolerance and interfaith dialogue, inspired by Fethullah Gulen and his transnational social movement. You do it through your everyday lives, and you are truly strengthening the fabric of our common humanity, as well as promoting the ongoing cultural and educational ties that bind our world together. I want to thank you for your contributions to America, for your contributions to stronger Turkish-American relationships and better understanding, and especially for your friendship to Hillary and to me. Thank you.
Bill Clinton. How much money do you guys think he got paid to do that video?
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, you know he didn't do it for free. So then Flynn shared that Gulen portrays himself as a moderate, but he is in fact a radical Islamist. He has publicly boasted about his soldiers waiting for his orders to do whatever he directs them to do. If he were really, in reality, a moderate, he would not be in exile, nor would he excite the animus of Recep Tayyip Erdogan and his government. Now, Flynn then compared Gulen to leaders of the Muslim Brotherhood and Turkey's OBL. He discussed how Gulen brought into the U.S. numerous individuals to run his charter schools that he set up. To add insult to injury, American taxpayers are helping finance Gulen's 160 charter schools in the United States. These schools have been granted more H-1B visas than Google. It is inconceivable that our visa officers have approved thousands of visas for English teachers whose English is incomprehensible. A CBS 60 Minutes program documented a conversation with one such imported English teacher from Turkey. Several lawsuits, including some in Ohio and Texas, point to irregularities in the operation of these schools. I can't play that video because I will get a strike from CBS. Flynn then dropped this bomb about the Clinton Foundation's relationship with this terrorist. However, funding seems to be no problem for Gulen's network. Hired attorneys work to keep the lucrative government source of income for Gulen and his network going. Influential charities such as Cosmos Foundation continue their support for Gulen's charter schools. Incidentally, Cosmos Foundation is a major donor to the Clinton Foundation. No wonder Bill Clinton calls Mullah Gulen his friend. It is now no secret that Huma Abedin, Hillary's close aide and confidant, worked for 12 years as the associate editor for a journal published by the London-based Institute of Minority Muslim Affairs. This institute has promoted the thoughts of radical Muslim thinkers such as Qutb and Al-Banna and others. Now, Neon notes that in the New York Times article that discusses the terror organization in the U.S. led by Gulen, what is happening is this. Taxpayers fund the school system. The school abuses the H-1B visa program to import teachers. The teachers get paid by taxpayers. The teachers then donate 40% of their paychecks back to the Gulen movement. And Gulen goes and donates a chunk of this change back to the Clinton Foundation while also trying to subvert and overthrow the Turkish government. So this is clearly just business as usual for the Clinton Foundation. We know, like we just said, there's absolutely no way that Bill Clinton and the Clinton Foundation would be involved unless they were getting a hefty paycheck. And it looks like that's exactly what's happening. They get 40% of their money given back to this movement, and then they are bribing the Clinton Foundation to help them continue to keep going with this illegal operation. Do you guys know anything about Gulen? Have you heard anything about his schools throughout the United States?
No, this is the first that I'm
nothing.
hearing of that, but it seems like typical Clinton playbook. It's par for the course with these people.
So it looks like the setup of General Flynn was directly related to his uncovering of this scheme that they had going on. They targeted him. They made sure that he was removed from the Trump administration, and then I believe they threatened his family. Didn't they threaten to indict his son if he did not plead guilty? Anyone hear that?
I'm not up on this stuff, man. This is why you cover the news.
No problem. No problem. Well, that's what happened. These people involved in this are the unredacted, or excuse me, the redacted portions from the Flynn case that we saw in there. Now, there was a couple of different things. There was Person A in the indictment. There was also Company A. And according to Neon Revolt, Person A is General Flynn, and then Company A would be General Flynn's company. And the individual that reportedly hired the Flynn group was a man named Ekim Al-Patekin, who is connected with a consortium of deep state spies. Perhaps this was a setup from the very beginning, and General Flynn was brought in because of his knowledge of this, and then the deep state set him up by hiring him, by having a Turkish contact, basically, hire Flynn, and then they set up this entire story pretending that he was trying to kidnap Gulen, someone that they were deeply involved with. Well, here's something you guys might know something about. Bill de Blasio's run for president is not doing so well. He just did an event here in South Carolina, and apparently only 15 people showed up. Bill de Blasio seems to be the last person on the list for the Democrats. I haven't heard of a single person who is excited about him running. Now, Sever, the reason I thought you might know something about this is due to your locale. What's the feeling, the general feeling about Bill de Blasio in the state of New York?
Oh, he's hated out here. Even though it's super liberal and really just Democrat run for the most part, even your most SJW type of people out here can't stand de Blasio. So that doesn't surprise me that he had 15 people in attendance for something he would show up to. His days here are numbered. He has zero chance in the well, I don't know. Him and Swalwell are kind of running neck and neck for least likely.
They're tied
That's what it's looking like right now.
Tied at 2% apiece. Well, Pete Buttigieg is coming in a close third. Did you guys hear what happened to him today? He was supposed to be on a campaign stop himself, and there was the unfortunate death of a young black constituent in his city in Indiana. And so he canceled his campaign rally and flew back home to Indiana to attend a Black Lives Matter rally. And while he was there, he just failed spectacularly. It was incredible to watch this happen. He just literally went in a spiral nosedive into the earth. He's standing there in front of all of these Black Lives Matter activists. He's on a microphone or a bullhorn or something like that, and there's only like 20 people surrounding him. I thought it was really weird that he's speaking into a microphone, but he's reading from like a prepared statement, like a piece of white paper, talking about the fact that it doesn't look like it was a racially motivated death. And of course, these people, Black Lives Matter activists, they're of the opinion that every death of a young African American must be racially motivated. And the crowd just universally booed him and basically told him that they were not going to vote for him. And I think that that was pretty stunning to see that people in, you know, the hometown where Pete Buttigieg is the mayor, people are not even interested in electing him president.
Absolutely. I think that goes for most of the pack, to be honest with you. They've got, 20 people throwing their hat in the ring?
Yeah.
And I'd say a good 16, 17 are not even in the conversation. So all they're doing is eating each other. The more that they do this, we already know what the outcome is in 2020. There's no way ever that Trump would lose. It's not going to happen. But no matter who they send up against him, I just think about what these people stand for. They don't stand for anything positive, at least not when it comes to our country, not when it comes to America. They put us last, every single one of them. So we'll see the earthquake at the ballot box happen.
I think it's hilarious.
And I'll speak on this really quick.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah,
if you don't
please.
mind. Because I think people are waking up to the con. And the more people are waking up to the con, you see these guys, the reason I think they're pushing like infanticide and things that we can't, kind of blows our mind. But the reason they're pushing so hard is because people are waking up to the con, and we're finally fighting back, and we're saying, I'm not going to be politically correct. Or I'm not going to believe these lies anymore. I'm going to look to this. And with my videos that I've done on Boulay, I've had more black people come and say, yes, 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 yes. And white people still kind of be like, oh, no, 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 no. Because they're waking up to it too. They're starting to see it too.
And it's a wonderful thing, you know. People, more and more people on a daily basis are waking up, because it's incontrovertible what the Democrats are doing. They have no platform. They have absolutely nothing that they stand for. They're falling over each other to appeal to their, fairly small, ultra-liberal left-wing base. When it really comes down to it, these people are only the loudest people out there. They're not a particularly large portion of their constituents, and I think that it's why you see people like Bill de Blasio showing up to a hotel a conference room in wherever he is in South Carolina, and you can see just a bunch of empty chairs. Bunch of people just not even bothering to show up because people realize that they don't stand for a single thing. This is embarrassing. I mean, it's cringeworthy every time that I see this taking place.
And then
mainstream media is kind of coming out. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say real quick. Mainstream media is kind of saying something about it too, because even Meghan McCain is saying we have to look at the, no matter what you think about her, just hold that aside for a second. She's even saying on The View that, but hey guys, we have to admit the lines are not doing this for Biden or anyone else, and look at the lines for Trump still. And she's saying that now on TV in front of the camera. A lot of them are having to start to speak the truth, love it or hate it. Even the mainstream media is starting to do that. Go ahead, Sever.
Oh, absolutely. And tying into what you were saying, just the same way that you have people standing up saying, look, you have to deal with reality, and it is what it is. And if you want to move forward, you have to stand for something. You have to have a platform. And all they can say back to her is it's more Trump derangement. These people truly don't deal with reality. It's very hard. I mean, if you deal with any of them at all on Twitter, all you have to do is get into more than a 5-minute conversation, and it just runs loops constantly. It just goes back to the same thing, just pre-cut, cookie cutter narratives about Trump, and that's all they've got, and they're not accurate on anything they speak about. So I mean, it's kind of sad to watch, but these people are truly brainwashed.
It really is a sad thing. Now I've got a couple of other stories that tie in with this. As the widening field of candidates continues to attack the only person that they could potentially hope to make a gain on, Joe Biden, Democratic lawmakers are starting to freak out. What's going to happen if we do end up with a Pete Buttigieg against President Trump? I think it's going to be an even bigger landslide victory than people are prepared to admit on the left. But Joe Biden had a rough week, you guys. The Democratic candidates pounded Joe for his radioactive comments praising segregationists in the Democratic Party. 2020 candidates Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, and Elizabeth Warren, they all ganged up on Biden for his approving comments. And later this week, the liberal media got the go-ahead to finally report on Biden and his son Hunter Biden's shady business dealings with his dad and the Chinese. That was a surprise for everyone. I definitely did not anticipate seeing that taking place. There's certain things that you just figure the mainstream media is not going to report on, and that was pretty damaging, I thought. Now, by the end of the week, Speaker Pelosi, Representative John Lewis, Senator Chris Coons, and Representative Elijah Cummings all warned the 2020 Democrats to leave Joe Biden alone. We've got a short clip here from Ingram. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
Joe Biden should not need to be explained to about why that word is so hurtful.
How on earth can you say those times of civility, I wish we could go back to that? Joe Biden needs to apologize.
It's misinformed and it's wrong.
It's never okay to celebrate segregationists. Never.
Well, they're all jumping on Biden for his comments, including other 2020 Democrats, and rightfully so. What Biden said was inartful at the very least, but congressional Democrats don't see it that way. They're not only defending Biden, but warning his competitors to back off.
I don't think the remarks are offensive.
For us to spend time on an issue like this, which is important, but it's not central to what the election is about.
As we move towards these debates in Miami next week, every minute on that debate stage that a Democratic candidate is attacking, challenging, or criticizing another Democratic candidate is a good minute for Donald Trump's campaign.
Oh, joining me now, Dinesh D'Souza, conservative commentator, filmmaker, and Shane Harris, Democratic strategist, president of the People's Alliance for Justice.
And they're right. Every single time these people start nipping at each other's heels and eroding any type of advantage that they might have over each other, Donald Trump gets another vote at the polls. This is going to be, in my opinion, the largest victory in a presidential run ever in the history of the United States.
Such a great time period. I'll say it every time. Great to be an American, but so great to just be rejoicing in this time period. Because it's like, you know how they look back on Reagan now?
Yes.
I'm telling you guys, we're going to be doing this. We're going to be thinking about how glorious this time period is.
I agree. I agree completely. President Trump is going to be the largest lesson in history in the coming years. These kids that are coming after us, you guys, they will be heralding him as the greatest president that ever lived. Mark my words.
And I want to clarify, too, that these segregationists are Democrats. No matter what you see on the news or what you hear or read, they're not right-wing Republicans that they're talking about. And so all these Democrats have actually worked with these other Democrats that they're all getting on him about. And I don't know what time frame it comes from, because Biden's been in there a long time. But these are Democrat segregationists. They're Democrats, not Republicans.
And that is not something that the liberal media will allow to be reported on. I love it when, what was it? It was several months ago. They were reporting on a Democrat that had done something terrible, and they tried to, it was Ralph Northam. They reported that Ralph Northam, governor of Virginia, was a Republican, when in fact,
Republican, that's right.
Yeah, he's a Democrat. He's a Democrat. He's the one who's out there talking about this sick stuff. All right. I need to give just a couple quick thank yous. Ann Boo Prank, thank you very much. Jeremy Tillman said, hey, from the land of the Wombats, haven't been able to watch live for ages. Great show, thanks. Glad you're here, Jeremy. And also, Tanette Booth said, they have no viable candidates, in my humble opinion. That is correct. Absolutely no viable candidates. Now, there is another story. Speaking about the base of the Democratic Party, a new study has found that 92% of left-wing loser activists live at home with their mother and father. Not to say that there's even anything wrong with living with your parents, but if your whole goal is to oppose the presidential, the president of the United States, if you don't want to admit that Donald Trump is your president, then you've got something seriously wrong with you. So the people focusing solely on this tend to be people who do nothing else with their lives. This is actually a study out of Berlin. But it found that 92% of the loser left-wing activists were living with their parents, and 1 in 3 were unemployed. And according to the study, around 80% of the victims were police officers. Another 15% of the victims were right-wing activists. So these must be people getting attacked by these left-wing activists. But the vast majority of left-wing protesters, this is from the Daily Mail, that were arrested on suspicion of politically fueled offenses in Berlin are young men who live with their parents, and the figures which were published in a daily newspaper, Bild, revealed that 873 suspects were investigated by authorities between 2003 and 2013. And this is not something that you hear about very often. You know, you don't hear about the beatings or the attacks that are done to people on the right. If you'll remember, during the terrible events at the Unite the Right rally, I believe, there was a guy going around and smashing people in the head with a bike lock. You know, he was a professor at a local college.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
you will never hear about that on MSM ever.
Never.
No chance. It doesn't fit the narrative. But that was huge. He was found guilty, correct?
Yes, he was. I believe he got essentially a legal slap on the wrist. Certainly, you know, I mean, that could have been attempted murder. You know, you smash somebody in the head with a large bike lock, and you could do some serious damage. You can crack somebody's skull open, quite literally. Real quick, thank you to Vision and my friend Diana Davenport. Good to see you here. She says, hey, just tuned in. It's been too long. I love Erin, too. Love you guys. Glad you're here, Diana. So most of these people are men, and most of them are younger, between 18 and 29, and they're all coming from few particular districts in Berlin. But basically, it just shows that the people who are doing this, they've got nothing to occupy their lives. You know, these people need.
I
want
to speak on this.
Yeah, please.
So if you watch Face Like the Sun, or if you listen to Gonstemer, or you go to Canary Cry Radio, he talks about this with like the gamified generation. Mm-hmm. And we look at how the gamers go in there, and some of these guys have gone onto YouTube and already earned apparently a lot of money, like PewDiePie and stuff like that. And they say, oh, this is a way I can sit at home and make money. And then the games are incentivizing them to do something like that. And so you look at a younger generation that's understanding this, and they try to make money from home. Well, they're not going to move out of their homes, and they're going to be paid. And maybe something on an advertisement will pop in and says, hold this sign at a rally or do this. And they're paid activists. We know that the government pays the activists to go out and push this. And then other people kind of either conform or don't, but people are either afraid to fight it. And so you look at these kids that are growing up in a game style type of scenario, and they're saying, oh, now I can make money doing this. Maybe it's not enough to move out and pay for rent, but it's enough to keep a lifestyle like that. Yeah. And it makes sense that they'd be more guys than gals because of the gaming industry. I mean, I did some of it, but not to the extent that I know some of my friend gamers that are guys would do it. And so when they start putting it in, and that's why Facebook, I think, is making the Libra, because it's a way to implement a global currency, right? And then you get to earn it by using Facebook and sharing Facebook and doing Facebook things. It's the same with the money inside of these games. And these guys are young. They're probably throwing out advertisements. Hey, come out and hold the sign, or hey, do this. And some of the activists get a little bit crazier than others, but they're analyzing our data. We know it. Yes. So if they're analyzing our data, then we know for sure that they're able to say this person would go out and do something crazy. This person would go out and probably be a little bit over the top for us if we paid them just enough extra money.
Yeah,
because they're able to analyze all that data now.
Now, I do need to issue an important retraction here. Rugis just reminded me that it was actually Eric Clanton. It was in Northern California. It was at a Berkeley rally. That's right. It's been a minute since. Berkeley, not Charlottesville. Let's see. D. Dowd, you just switched over here after listening to your voice on American News Network. That was not me. That was not me on American News Network, unless they're mirroring my show. I certainly hope that they're not. But I'm glad you brought up Libra, Erin, because Facebook has now just implemented their own cryptocurrency. And, you know, we're hearing a lot of stuff about the social kind of point system that they have in China. If you are dubbed as a degenerate or someone who is untrustworthy, your name is actually put into a database, and people in China can look you up. There's like you show up based on your location with your phone as, you know, someone who can be trusted or someone who cannot be trusted. And if you are not trusted, then you can be denied services in China. I think that this Facebook cryptocurrency is kind of the first step towards doing that. We'll have like a social rating system, and people will have to be doing business with this Facebook Libra currency. What happens when businesses who are partnering up with Facebook decide to only offer the ability to pay with Libra? Or what if Facebook decides to only pay their employees in Libra, thereby creating this microeconomic system, which is, you know, let's be frank, it would be quite large because of the user base at Facebook, and it competes against the U.S. dollar.
I can't roll with Zuckerberg. The more you talk about this stuff, I can't mess with that dude. No. I'm so pro delete your Facebook and delete your Instagram because he owns Instagram too. Everybody I talk to about it, I say delete that. That sounds a lot like putting that sounds like the mark of the beast a little bit.
It does. It does.
Amen. That's what it is.
Yeah. You know, it's like an episode of Black Mirror. It's really scary to think, you know, what could happen with that. And, you know, not to, you know, say something good about Maxine Waters, but she's actually the only person in Congress who's speaking up about this and suggesting that it might be a bad idea. It definitely is a bad idea, and if she's going to do anything good in Congress, then I'm glad that she's looking to address something like this. But something tells me that the only reason she has a problem with it is because there's no way for her to get a cut directly.
Well, and plus, I want to warn people to get your information off the internet, because there's a company or website already called My Life that is trying to do this already. And you want to look at the information that Zuckerberg's been selling about you. Just go to these websites where you can find so much information. You just Google your own name or go to DuckDuckGo, but there's articles how to pull your stuff off the internet.
Wow.
But My Life is one of them. I have a friend who was attacked by her, at that time, significant other, and he was abusive to her. And it shows, My Life shows her as being related to him. And I tell her, I'm like, go pull your information off because they're trying to give a social credit score. And she's like, oh, that's horrible, but doesn't do it. And I'm thinking, oh my God, like, stop. And as far as the Zuck buck, do not comply, because even if this isn't the mark of the beast, you need to be aware of when it comes, if this is not it. And this is it. Don't comply. Don't comply whether it is or not.
Delete your Facebook.
We live in a day too. I have talked to two people recently where on the whole Facebook combo and credit scores and all this kind of reeks of credit score as well, you know, some sort of social ratings, like rating system. That's what credit score pretty much is too, you know, like, can you be trusted to take out a loan? And people don't get jobs sometimes because the company, you know, runs your credit score. So if they can run your, you know, the My Life or whatever, you know, they do a background check on you, people don't get jobs because of this stuff. And so we're already past a time where American people and people all over the world have decided that it's totally fine to take pictures of everything in your life and share it online so other people can see. And now we're at a time where whoever hasn't deleted their Facebook or Instagram yet, and just in the consciousness, when you say to someone, hey, delete your Facebook. Well, you know, I was talking to I went water skiing with one of my buddies the other day, and I was like, do you still got Facebook? And he was like, yeah, man, I got friends I talk to occasionally. And I'm like, is that the only reason why you keep it? He's like, yeah, it helps me keep tabs on people. And I was like, you do know your information is being sold though, right? You do know that, you know, all this, and he never contemplated it. And, you know, but where I was going with that is that when you tell someone who has a Facebook or an Instagram, hey, delete it, the first thing I think that happens is this thought that goes, well, why would I delete it? Why should I? Why would I do that? That's crazy. Like, everyone has. Why would I do that? That alone should be an indicator to you that you should delete that and test it out, just to see if you can get off the thing. Yeah, I was going to say something else.
There is an inherent reward system that they've built into it. They have hooked people's brains on it with the notifications and being able to look at your friends and family and, you know, maybe people that you're jealous of, exes perhaps. You can look at that stuff and still keep tabs on somebody. And then when you get a notification, people like your stuff, people share it. There's a, you're like, oh, I am worthy, I am valid, because people are, piling up on this post about how much I hate Trump. All right, guys.
It fires dopamine in your brain too,
Yes.
and then when you cut it off, when you say, okay, I'm going to stop doing this for like 5 days.
Yep.
Then you realize that you're actually addicted.
Yep.
And that it affects your happiness levels, and you're not getting as much dopamine shooting into your brain.
She just took the words right out of my mouth. I was literally just about to say that. There have been multiple studies done on that, and it's directly linked to exactly what he just said: rise in dopamine level, and then it's just like an addict that can't get their fix. They start to go through withdrawal. It's really kind of scary, actually.
It's terrible, and that's the world that they have created for us. But you can still unplug, you guys. I highly suggest, just like Jason said, everybody delete your Facebook. Get rid of it. All right, we've only got 7 minutes left, guys, so I want to get into this story. Now, I'm sure that everybody saw that the Trump administration announced that they were going to be doing raids on ICE. Raids by ICE on illegal aliens. I rejoiced when I saw that story, but I also thought that it was very strange that President Trump's administration would be broadcasting their moves like that. We've been told before they're not going to broadcast the playbook. Well, former ICE Director Tom Homan is speaking out on this, and he went off on the acting Homeland Security Secretary, Kevin McAleenan, and he accused him of resisting ICE and leaking the raids to the media. Kevin McAleenan was previously a never-Trumper. When he really lobbied to get this job, I mean, he had to leave his former job, and then he was brought back into the administration. And, he had glowing reviews for President Trump by that time. But as reported earlier this week, Immigration and Customs Enforcement is set to begin raids with court-ordered removals in 10 cities beginning Sunday. President Trump said on Monday evening in a pair of tweets that ICE will begin the process of removing millions of illegals who have illicitly entered the U.S. And on Friday, we learned, according to government leaks to CNN and WAPO, that the raids would begin on Sunday. They said ICE agents will likely execute pre-dawn raids starting Sunday, targeting as many as 2,000 migrant families facing deportation orders in as many as 10 U.S. cities, including Houston, Chicago, Miami, and Los Angeles. That was according to the Washington Post. The agency is going to be using hotel rooms as temporary staging areas to detain parents and children until all the members of a family are together and ready for deportation. And there you can see somebody being deported right there. Well, already several Democrat leaders are siding with the illegal aliens. They're vowing not to let ICE get any assistance. And on Saturday morning, former ICE Director Tom Homan went off on the government official who leaked the cities involved in the upcoming ICE raids. Homan outed acting Homeland Security Secretary Kevin McAleenan for resisting the upcoming ICE raids and for leaking the timing and location to the press. Let's go ahead. We're going to listen to that video because this is just striking to me. If this is true, then we need to get that guy out of there.
Reportedly set to begin raids in 10 cities across the U.S. starting tomorrow. The president weighing in earlier this morning, tweeting, "The people that ICE will apprehend have already been ordered to be deported. This means that they have run from the law and run from the courts. These are people that are supposed to go back to their home country. They broke the law by coming into the country and now by staying."
But several sanctuary city mayors are already vowing to resist. Here to react is retired ICE director and Fox News contributor Tom Homan. Tom, thanks for being here this morning. The president says if you're a double lawbreaker, you gotta go. These mayors resisting, Tom.
The president's exactly right. Look, I've read several news accounts of these mayors talking about terrorizing innocent immigrant communities. They're not terrorizing innocent immigrant communities. They're arresting illegal aliens by definition of law who enter this country in violation of law that was ordered deported by a federal judge. So the men and women of ICE don't arrest innocent people. They don't terrorize innocent immigrant communities. They don't arrest innocent people. They're doing their job. And as far as these mayors, these sanctuary cities, I just wish they shut their mouths. Because you want to talk about separation of families, the separation of families are the angel moms and dads who've been separated from their children forever because a criminal alien walked out of your sanctuary jail. Every one of those mayors ought to be ashamed. San Francisco, New York, Chicago, I can go on and on. Oakland mayor giving a heads up on a criminal operation. And they're going to talk about ICE separating families. I'm disgusted. You know, this in the story in Washington Post yesterday.
I think we should start there, you guys. I love this guy. Tom Homan come out of retirement.
He gets me pumped.
Yeah. You know, it's disgusting to me when the Democrats try to conflate this argument and they tell this lie. Oh, they're innocent families. No, they're illegals. These are people who have broken the law. They've already been ordered for deportation. The government is just doing its job. For every for every
lying
family
by omission every single time. They always just say immigrants. They never. What it's doing is honestly, it's a disgrace to the people that have come here legally, that have gone through the system and done what they needed to do. When they're conflated with people that came here under completely different circumstances, you will never see them calling them illegal anything ever. And all they do is get excited and yell and scream, and all the fake outrage. It's ridiculous. It's disgusting, truly. And he was on fire just now, and rightfully so. That's the way everyone should be about this.
It's also an affront to every angel, mother, father, brother, sister, child, anyone who has lost a loved one at the hands of someone who entered this country through illegal means. It makes me so angry every single time. And this is another one of those things that I just cannot believe they have been able to lie about so completely, to convince this side of the aisle, the Democrats, the left side of the aisle, that this is a valid argument. It's like talking about my first guest, okay? We've got the evidence right here of a Holocaust of an entire people, a genocide of an entire people. We've got the evidence of the illegal entry of millions of people into our country who then go and break more laws every single day. And the left refuses to do anything about it. It is one of the greatest threats to our nation that we have seen in our entire lifetime.
So I would say that it's hard to be surprised, because when people like us get into this kind of information that we look up, we know why they want it. We know why they want it. And it is still infuriating, but we have to step back and go, okay, I'm mad about this. How can they do this? But we know how they can do it, because they need this. They need the illegal immigration for drugs or child trafficking, human trafficking. And so it makes sense that there's some obviously issue that raiding ICE is going to have a problem for whatever they're doing. There's an obvious issue with that if they're all saying, don't do it. And they don't care about the angel moms, right? Because they don't care about us, and they don't care about you, and they don't care about the children. And so unfortunately, I believe it just shows a show. They don't care. And we know that. And so we just keep battling, keep the armor of God, keep going up against it. And we keep saying, this isn't right, this isn't right, this isn't right. And never be surprised what they're doing.
Someone said in the audience, I am thinking of joining the Trump cult. It's not a cult. It is an organized group of patriots who care about their country. All of you in the audience, us here on the program tonight, we could not be here if the United States of America did not exist. And the breaking down of our sovereignty, the breaking down of our borders, and allowing for the destruction of America is going to ensure that we, my friends, our children, and future generations will not be able to exist to continue on with Western civilization. And that is a scary, scary thought.
And just on that word, the cult word, I used to be freaked out by that word. I never wanted to really pretty much take a position on anything, whether Jesus was fully God, fully man, and part of the Trinity, or whether or not I want to be a Republican or whatever. And so my wife told me that here's how you prevent yourself from being in a cult. Discern. Use discernment. Get to the truth. Find the facts yourself. If you find yourself in if you're in a religious group and you are not researching to figure out whether or not the person that's the leader in the building there is all based in truth, and you don't get down to the bottom of it, you are susceptible to being in a cult. As far as politics go, if you find yourself taking a political position, but you can't really talk about what your leader's policies are, and you don't know why, you're just hearing other people say it and you're just mimicking it, you are susceptible to being in a cult. So discern. That's my advice to everyone out there. You'll never be in a cult if you just discern and get to the bottom of things.
Wise words, my friend. All right, you guys, we're past the 11 o'clock hour, so I just need to say thank you to Tanette Booth. She said, you can't delete Facebook ever. Never install it? I don't know. I think that's a great way to go from the start. Also, Roland G said, Red Pill, love your show. I sent you an article to your email and Twitter, worth a read. God bless you. God bless you, my friend. All right, guys, I'm going to give you guys all the opportunity to give some closing thoughts. Let's start with you, Jason. You've got mute on or something, buddy. I don't hear you.
Oh, sorry about that there.
No problem.
You can, if you want to hit up my SoundCloud, maybe it's somewhere, a link somewhere, but you can visit jasonwasagentile.com. And Sever and I and Erin, we're going to keep cranking out content. Just a little mini prayer. Lord Jesus, I pray over the people that are all in this chat, and I pray over our country. I pray over the children. And I just ask that every meal we have from this forward, that we'll say a little mini prayer too, and thank Jesus and God for the food that we've given us, for we have life because God has given to us in Jesus' name. Amen.
All right, Sever.
Yeah, just want to thank everyone out there tonight for joining us, and always thank you for having all of us on the show. Always a good time when I'm with you guys. Just wanted to actually, if I could take a moment, I'm going to be working with a younger artist that's trying to get into the Red Pill music thing. So if I could just plug him a little bit and give him a shout out.
Yeah.
He goes by Vision Anon on Twitter, VISIONANON. And yeah, look forward to working with him and seeing what we could put together. He's a young patriot that is a Q follower and into the whole movement, and really is wide awake. And it's inspiring to see the younger generation catching on and seeing that, you know, the movement is real and it's happening, and the Great Awakening is here. So just wanted to do that. And also people that want to check out my stuff, it's YouTube at The Real Sever, on Twitter at Sever Anon, and you know, I try to get back to everybody possible, so please leave me a comment, leave a comment on the video, things like that. So that's about it, but just wanted to say thank you to Erin once again for doing an amazing job with the video, and Jay, look forward to putting out more music with you and dropping these capsules.
Excellent. And Erin, final word.
Well, thank you for the prayer, Jason, because we all could use a little prayer more often than not. And so I appreciate that. And I want to let everybody know to please keep asking questions. We get so many people that come on these chats or on our shows or on our whatever it is, and they drop their opinion as fact. It's okay if that's what you believe, guys, but don't stop asking questions, because the moment that you decide that that opinion is fact for you, you're done asking questions. And there's a problem with that. So keep asking questions. Use discernment, because that's extremely important, what Jason said. You need to be discerning. Pray to God for discernment and wisdom. Keep asking questions. God bless. I appreciate all of you guys.
Awesome. Thank you all for being on the show. A couple of final thank yous here. Quite frankly, glad you're in the audience, buddy. He says, I've been in a number of cults. As both a leader and a follower, you have more fun as a follower, but you make more money as a leader. That's a quote from Creed Bratton. Wise words. Also, Clown World Pope Killer said the United States is a corporation that was sold in 1913 with the Federal Reserve Act. Operation Paperclip created the deep state after World War II. Do not support the Israeli lobby. Do your homework. All right. Thank you for those super chats. And I just want to remind everyone that the links for all of my guests can be found in the description of this video. You can also find the information for my sponsor, and then, of course, the link to my merchandise store. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us tonight. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News for Saturday Night Livestream. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.